Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Houston Texans at the Atlanta Falcons in their Week 4 matchup, played October 4th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. But let's get started off in the first quarter with about 8.5 minutes still left. Devonta Freeman rushes it in 16 yards for the touchdown. The extra point by Bryant is good, and it was 7-0 Atlanta over Houston. That would remain the score after one quarter of play. Then in the second quarter, less than half a minute in, Devonta Freeman rushes it in for his second touchdown of the game. This one a 23-yard touchdown. Bryant adds the extra point, and it was now 14-0 Falcons over the Texans. Then just 2 minutes later, with 12.5 minutes left before halftime, Arian Foster fumbled the ball. It was recovered by Trufant, and he runs it back 24 yards for the touchdown. Bryant adds the extra point, and it was 21-0 Atlanta over Houston. Then with a little over 3 minutes still left in the second quarter, Matt Ryan hits Leonard Hankerson for a 3-yard touchdown, and it was 28-0 after the extra point by Bryant. So that was the score at halftime. And in the third quarter, the Falcons kept pouring it on. This time, Devonta Freeman opens up the third about 4 minutes in, and he gets a 6-yard touchdown run, his third of the game, and the extra point by Bryant would make it 35-0 Atlanta over Houston. But they weren't done just yet, as with 3 minutes still left in the third, Teron Ward ran for the fourth rushing touchdown for the Falcons in this game. This one an 8-yard touchdown run. Bryant added the extra point, and it was 42-0 Falcons over the Texans, as they had scored 42 unanswered points at this point in the game. And that was it right there at the end of 3. But then finally, in the fourth quarter, as the definition of garbage time, they actually took Mallett out the game. Hoyer was now in the game, and Hoyer hits Fedorowicz for a 5-yard touchdown pass, and that put the Texans on the scoreboard. Novak hits the extra point, and it was 42-7 as they cut the lead to 35. Then, with 9 minutes left in the game, Chris Polk punched it in from a yard out. Novak hit the extra point. Now it was a 28-point game with the score 42-14. Then with 3 minutes left, Brian Hoyer hit Cecil Shorts III for an 8-yard touchdown that cut the lead to 21 with the extra point by Novak with the score 42-21. But then on the final play of this game, Nathan Stupar runs back a fumble 84 yards for the touchdown, and they actually went for 2. They didn't get it though, and so it was 48-21 final score as they utterly dominate the Texans. The Falcons win this one by 27. They're 4-0 on the season, undefeated at home, obviously. The Texans are winless on the road. They're 1-3 on the season. Very impressive victory by the Falcons as they just totally dominated this game. And I'll tell you what, this game, watching, I was like, wow, the Texans, this is somehow I even thinking, like, what is the deal with the Texans? They got so much talent. Why do they suck? And it's the coach. It's Bill O'Brien. And then I watched the post-game press conference, and he's like, it's my fault, the reason we lost. And it's like, wow, you took the words right out of my mouth, Bill O'Brien. You do need to be fired. Like, you suck. You're the reason. I mean, who else you going to blame? You got all that talent. How you got the best defensive player in the game, and then you can't even win a game? And a lot of it has to do, in my opinion, with the fact that playing musical chairs at quarterback. Really, if you want to win now, you should have had Hoyer be the guy and just stick with them. If you want to build for the future, then you have Mallett out there because he's got that potential for the future. He's not necessarily a win now guy, but you got to pick one and stick with them. You can't just always, switch in, switch out. If you don't have consistency at quarterback, you'll never win in the NFL. That's just the way it is. And so when you're just like, this guy, that guy, then you're not going to get nowhere. You've seen Hoyer put up better numbers in this game. Of course, at that point he came in, it was already garbage time. They're already just getting destroyed. So, I mean, really, what does that mean? But I think Hoyer's a guy that's never really gotten a fair shake in the NFL. They've never really, given him his chance. Not like as if anyone owes anyone a chance, but I think if Hoyer actually had a team that was actually dedicated towards having him as their starter, he could do something. But when the coach has no faith in the guy from Jump Street, he was like a fake starter. When they brought him out for week 1, he was just holding the job for Mallett. They already had decided it was going to be Mallett, but Mallett had lost the job. It wasn't that they were felt Hoyer had won it. Even though, really, like I said, if you want to win today, Hoyer should be your guy. Not that it matters anyway. The Falcons just smoked them. Matt Ryan was 19 for 27 in this game, 256 passing yards, 1 touchdown. Hoyer for the Texans in relief was 17 for 30, 232 yards and a touchdown. Mallett, who had started the game for the Texans, was 12 of 27 for 150 yards and an interception. And on the ground, actually interesting enough, Ward finished with the most rushing yards, 19 carries, 72 yards and a touchdown. But Freeman had 14 carries, 68 yards in 3 touchdowns before they ended up just letting him rest. And for Freeman, actually, 3 touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. He's the first player to do that since LaDainian Tomlinson, and I believe he's the first Atlanta Falcon to ever do that in franchise history. Leading rusher for the Texans was Polk, 3 carries for 27 yards and a touchdown. Arian Foster had 8 carries for 10 yards in this game. Blue, 6 carries for 17 yards. The leading receiver is actually DeAndre Hopkins, 9 receptions for 157 yards. Cecil Shorts III had 6 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown. Mumphrey, 4 receptions for 56 yards. And for the Falcons, Hankerson had 6 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown. Freeman had 5 receptions for 81 yards to go along with his 68 yards rushing, which gave him a total of 149 yards in this game. Julio Jones, just 4 receptions for 38 yards. And then we look at the kickers. Matt Bryant, 6 for 6 on the extra points. He did not attempt a field goal. Novak, 0 for 1 on the field goal, and he was 3 for 3 on the extra points. Then we look at the defense, and on the defense, Cushing was the game's leading tackler with 7 tackles. J.J. Watt did have a sack, just 3 tackles. Crick had a sack for the Texans as well. And for the Falcons, Bradford and Moore each forced fumbles. Babineau had an interception. Hagman had a sack. We look at the first downs. 24 first downs for the Texans, 22 first downs for the Falcons. And on third downs, the Texans were 7 of 15 for a 46 conversion percentage. And for the Falcons, 9 for 16, 56% on third downs. The Texans were 0 for 2 on fourth downs, and the Falcons 1 for 1 on fourth downs as they converted the one time they did go for it. Total net yards, 428 for the Texans, 378 for the Falcons. Total net rushing yards, 135 for Atlanta, 54 for Houston. Net passing yards, 374 for the Texans, as they were sacked once for an 8-yard loss. And for the Falcons, 243, as Matt Ryan was sacked twice for a 13-yard loss. And then we look at the penalties. 10 penalties against the Falcons. They were penalized 80 yards. Just 5 penalties for the Texans, so they were penalized 35 yards. And in the red zone, the Falcons were 4 for 4. The Texans were 3 for 4. We look at the time of possession. The Falcons had it for about 11 minutes more, 35 minutes, 52 seconds versus 24 minutes and 8 seconds. So it's just a dominant performance by the Falcons. The Falcons are for real at 4-0, as they were just looking very impressive on both sides of the ball. Dan Quinn has that defense playing pretty stellar, and you already know Matt Ryan in that offense can put up the numbers. And with the way Devonta Freeman's been playing, now they have a running game. The Falcons are really the team to beat. Of course, in that NFC South, the Panthers are also undefeated. So you got 2 teams in the South undefeated. The division that was the worst division in football last year, right now you got 2 of the best teams at 4-0 with the Panthers and the Falcons. So the South is turned around there. in the NFC, and the Falcons looking very impressive against the AFC South opponent, a team that was, looked like they might have been better heading into the season. Of course, Aaron Foster being banged up, but he's back now, and the Texans still 1-3. Like I said, and you wonder where's the problem lie? Well, it lies with the head coach, and he even took the blame for it, which you gotta give him respect. At least he took the blame for it. Even though, is that really like him just trying to take the heat off the players? But really, is the coach. As I went off a little bit earlier. At least that's what I think. Let me know what you think, though, in the comment section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions, whether you agree or disagree. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.